What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2013 Audi Allroad. Up front is a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Allroad for one main reason. I've never driven one before. I've driven Audi products from this era, from this generation. That's not new to me, but the Allroad is special. They didn't make a whole lot of them, and it has some really cool features that I'm excited to talk about. But before we do, if you would like to submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me, you can do so at the zackpradel.com/submit webpage. It's a quick and easy submission form. You would get a video of your car just like the one you're watching now, and I come out to you. But what makes the Allroad so special? You might be yelling at your computer screen saying, Zach, that looks like an Audi A4. And it really is, but it's not called an A4. I was told it's not called an A4. Basically, it's an Audi A4 Avant that they lifted. It does get a slight suspension lift as well as taller tires for added ground clearance. It gets the signature Allroad fender flares, which are iconic with this vehicle, as well as the track width of the wheels is a little bit wider. And basically, this car was meant to be an all-around car. It's made to be driven on all roads. The Germans aren't really the most clever when it comes to their naming. Powering the Allroad is a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, making around 211 horsepower. It's a solid power plant. Volkswagen Group as a whole has been using this power plant for years and years and years and years. I recently drove the Golf R with a 2-liter turbo. I've driven Jettas, Golfs, Audi A3s, Tiguans. Even the Porsche Macan uses a version of this 2-liter turbo. The only real issue with these is the timing chains. There's a service that you have to do, and some people don't do that, but by and large, this actually is a pretty reliable, pretty decent engine. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, this generation of A4 came with several different transmissions offered, but the Allroads were only offered with the 8-speed auto and the 2-liter turbo, which is a fantastic setup. I really enjoy this 8-speed automatic. It's doing the job really well, and for being 10 years old, it's held up incredibly well in terms of automatic transmissions. Last but not least, this Allroad does have the Quattro system, which is Audi's all-wheel drive system. They call it permanent 4-wheel drive, but it means pretty much the same thing as all-wheel drive, which is fantastic not only for the winter, but for harsh terrain. How does it feel to actually drive the Allroad? Feels great. It does have a more refined approach. Even though this is meant to be a more rugged, useful wagon, it is miles and miles away from a Wagoneer or other hardcore Jeep product. This feels very refined. It feels very civilized. Taking this out on a trail and taking this out on date night is both going to be pleasurable experiences. And I really like that about this car. Steering is a little heavy, a little bit heavier than I probably would have wanted, but it's definitely no arm workout. Throttle is good. There is a little bit of boost lag, but to be expected with a smaller 2-liter. And overall, I'm very happy with this driving experience. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and tachometer, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. In the center, I do get a little customizable gauge. This doesn't feel super premium. However, 2013, it was still uncommon to have screens in gauge clusters, or at least they were starting to come around more. And so I can't knock the 2013 Allroad too much. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my mode and selector dial, and off to the right, I have my volume and information as well as voice commands. The overall look and feel of the steering wheel feels nice. This does feel a little bit more dated than the rest of the car. This definitely feels very late 2000s, but that's okay. Off to the left, I do have a climate control vent, as well as my headlight, front and rear fog light switches, and my gauge dimmer switches. And moving out of the door, I have my lock and unlock, along with this nice wood accent. 2 different memory seat options with a off button, which is really nice, especially for me when I drive a bunch of other people's cars, and the memory seat starts squishing me, I can turn that off. Very nice that they have that, and I haven't seen that in a vehicle before. And then we have our power and heated mirrors and power window switches, with a little tailgate release down by my left shin. Moving into the center, we do get a little infotainment system. Again, this does feel very dated, but this car is 10 years old, so I can't subtract that from the score of the Allroad. I do have to use a dial to use this screen. It is not touch screen, and I'm not a big fan of that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Then we do have 2 climate control vents and our Audi Concert, which is basically the radio controls. And that's that dial that I said I didn't like. It's fine. It's just the ergonomics of it is a little bit weird. You really have to extend your arm in order to use it. There's nowhere to rest your arm while using it. I prefer this to be closer to the shifter, like how modern Mazda or BMW does it. Then we do have the climate controls. We get dual zone climate, which is very nice to see, as well as these dials are multi-use, so you can use them either for the temperature or for the fan speed. Of course, where to send it, you get all of these premium options, and as well as heated seats, and I'm pleasantly enjoying this as an entire package. It was very hot in here when I got in, and the AC cooled it down in a matter of seconds, which was nice to see, especially for a 10-year-old vehicle. Moving into the center console, we do have a little opening ashtray and cigarette lighter. Power parking brake off to the left. Start-stop button down below that. And then we have the shifter in the middle. Pretty typical Audi shifter. I've seen this in a lot of other vehicles, and I like it. Feels nice and works well. Then we have our traction control off button down at the bottom. And down below that shifter, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Audi Allroad. And this car just keeps getting better and better because I didn't think it would, but it ended up passing rather snugly with the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have a center console with a 12-volt outlet, and we'll talk about the seats. The seats are pretty nondescript. They are comfortable, but they don't look like really much of anything. They just look like seats. Could have been pulled out of any automobile. And so I wish they would have gotten like a little bit of like an Allroad logo stitched into them, or just something to sort of make it a little special, but I'm definitely not complaining. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2013 Audi Allroad, and a couple of things to note. First of all, my knees are hitting the seat in front of me. My head is coming close to the ceiling when I don't have my glasses on. This is going to be probably really the one and only downside of the Allroad, is that it's based off the A4, which is the smaller chassis, so you're not going to get as much legroom back here as like an A6 and most definitely an A8. I do have a center console that does not want to fold out. 2 pop-out cup holders in there. We have some storage as well, so nice to see that stuff. And I do have vents back here. A lot of vehicles in this class and size forget about rear vents or just don't offer them, so that is nice to see. And I do get a 12-volt outlet. Speaking of space, however, let's hop out. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Audi Allroad, I do have a trunk popper here on the key fob, and it is a power tailgate, which I think more wagons need. So cool to see that on the Allroad. We do get this nice privacy cover as well. Put that down, and then we have our rear space. Tons of space here in the Allroad. This is a huge benefit of it. I also get a 12-volt outlet, which I always check for in modern SUVs. Cool to see that here. And we can pull this up. If there's a spare tire under here, this might be the most perfect oh my God. This might be the most perfect automobile in the world. Love that it gets a spare tire, because modern cars are actually moving away from spare tires. Or in the Dodge Hornet that I recently filmed, it's a $350 option for a spare tire. So happy to see that the Allroad gets that. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love it. This is one of my favorite parts of the Allroad. Not only those big exaggerated fender flares to fit the taller tires and wider wheels, but I think headlights, taillights, and general styling. I think this car looks very, very modern. If you would have said this was a 2018 or 2019, I would have said, yeah, sounds good to me, looks right. And I really like that about Audi, but I don't know why I like that about Audi, because when Nissan does it with the Frontier and doesn't refresh that for several years, I'm like, brother, this guy stinks! So I don't know why it's okay for Audi to do it, but not other companies. But for now, they get a hall pass. But with all that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving Audi Allroad from 2013? Well, I love this car. I really, really do. I drive all kinds of cars here on the channel, and I pride myself on that fact. But if you really want to truly know what kind of vehicle I would spend my hard-earned money on, it's a vehicle like this. I like when a car can be a multi-hyphenate, as they say in the City of Angels. A multi-hyphenate is someone who's a writer, producer, actor, someone that has a lot of different job titles at many different times. I like that about this car. This car is a multi-hyphenate with being a sports car with that 2-liter turbo and fun driving dynamics. But it's also an off-road capable vehicle, driving down obscure trails to get to a hiking spot. It's also a family vehicle, having space in the back for little ones, as the owner of this vehicle actually had car seats for his daughter in the back. But it's also a luxury vehicle. It's an Audi product. I have heated seats. I have, at the time, was very modern infotainment. I have leather. I get premium headlights. And so I love cars that aren't confined to a box. The owner, Steve, also has an NB Miata, which I actually filmed here on the channel a few years back. I love Miatas. They're fantastic, but they're only really good at being fun to drive cars. I don't want to take a 90s Miata out on date night. I personally owned a 93. On date night, it was awful and awkward and loud. If I tried to fit more than one person in it, I was breaking the law. So it wasn't a family vehicle. That vehicle wasn't equipped to go down hiking trails on gravel or loose pavement, no matter how much I tried to make it look like a safari vehicle. My point is, this car can do it all, and that is so special. Put a kayak on the top, a Schwinn on the back. This is the Swiss Army knife of cars, but that doesn't mean it's a master of none. It's a master of all. And I don't know why more manufacturers don't do something like this. Volvo does. They have the cross-country trim levels, which again get fender flares and lifted suspension, but those don't sell well here either. And the Allroad didn't sell all that well when it was being produced. Why wouldn't you want something that could solve every single one of your problems in a respectable manner? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like there's certain people that don't want their problems solved. They just like to complain. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Steve for letting me take out his Audi Allroad. I was so excited to do this review so I could finally check this vehicle off my list. I've always found these fascinating, and so thank you, Steve, for giving me the opportunity to scratch that itch. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.